Lina and our guest, Dr. Atienza and Secretary Pigboy Duque to please come up the stage. Yeah. Then, dito na tayo, dito na tayo sa taas. Can we? So we can start. Oh. On the way siya. Wala yung sineyo. Dito kami sa taas. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. We will already start our forum this morning. Ang discussion natin will be a little bit of a twist, no? Because we will be discussing light moments ng mga heroes natin sa more than 2 years na COVID fight natin. No? Unfortunately, yung isang guest natin, si Dr. Herbosa, from the IATF, no, cannot make it this morning kasi he tested positive sa COVID and he's right now on quarantine. No? Pero pinaparating ni Dr. Herbosa yung greetings niya sa mga kaibigan natin sa Libya. No? Instead, we will be having the President of Philippines, past President of the Philippine Medical Association, Dr. to join us. Ang pag-usapan natin dito is about yung mga inside stories, mga stories na hindi masyadong kinikwento ng video sa mga kababayan natin on the struggles of our heroes, yung mga doktor natin, starting with our main hero in the fight against COVID, no less than the Secretary. Hindi ganun kadali to do this, but the bottom line at this point in time is this: the COVID pandemic is almost controlled. So, but anyway, we'll talk about it about these things. So, can I call our host, Senator Joey Lina, to say something?
When you ask me to say something, it will be a mouthful. But good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Manila Hotel. This is the Roma Salon. Counting advertisement lang. This is a historic Manila Hotel. By the way, we're going to observe our 110th anniversary on July 4th. We've gone through a lot. There were moments of sadness, but there are more moments of happiness through those 112 years, including the war years, where Manila Hotel was heavily bombed by the invaders. So let me go straight to the point, Secretary Duque. I'm convinced that we have done exceptionally well in the management of the COVID-19. Congratulations. Congratulations to all our health workers. They sacrificed a lot. But after all is said and done, the leadership deserves congratulations. In the early year in our fight against COVID-19, many of us were really doubtful, skeptical, and worried on how the management of COVID-19 would end up. Now, despite the increasing number of COVID-19 cases, the hospitalization rate is well within the low-risk level. And I've heard the DOH official saying that there is really not much to be concerned about as long as the hospitalization rate is managed well. Why is this so? Why is this so? That the number of cases is increasing, hospitalization rate is still low, at low risk. What is the explanation behind this? And should we be worried that there will be lockdowns in the next few days or weeks?
Before that, Secretary, I know, sanay ka sa hitting the ground running talaga. Action man kasi ito si Secretary natin. But let me just formally introduce our hero. By the way, Dr. Olarte, can you please come up at the stage? Dr. Olarte, now the President of the Cleaner Philippines Movement and past President of the Philippine Medical Association.
Good morning, everybody.
So, hindi na kailangan introduce si Secretary Duque. Let me just give the microphone to the Secretary. Of course, you know, Dr. Benito Atienza is the immediate past President of the Philippine Medical Association. Now, the Vice President of the Philippine Federation of Professional Associations. That includes the Philippine Medical Association, the Philippine Dental Association, the Nurse Association, lahat ng mga professionals na kumukuha ang group sa PRC. That's the PFPA. And of course, Dr. Sec, Eddie, please.
Yes, maraming salamat sa iyo, Doc Mike. Unang-una, hayaan mo na ninyong batiin ko sa ngalan ng Department of Health at ng Interagency Task Force on Emerging Infectious Diseases ang ating pong mga magigiting na mga katuwang ng departamento at ng IATF na iba po hindi ang Philippine Medical Association at pinangatawanan ng dalawang ating masipag na mga doktor, si Dr. Mike, Dr. Benny, si Dr. Leo Olarte, ng Clean Air at Philippines Movement, and of course to Senator Joey Lina, who also is the President and CEO of Manila Hotel. Magandang umaga po, lalo-lalo na sa ating pong mga katuwang na mga media practitioners. Ako po ay nagpapasalamat at ito pong ibinabahagi ang mahalagang oras ninyo para pakinggan ang aming pong mga issues na tatalakayin. Ito na nga, nag-countdown na tayo. Ang Duterte administration will soon end its term, 12 noon of June 30, and that's 2 days from now, no? Thursday. So, magandang mapag-usapan natin ang mga bagay-bagay kung ano ba ang kinalabasan ng pandemic response ng ating gobyerno. Sagutin ko lang yung unang mga tanong ni Senator Joey, no? Yung tama po na hanggang ngayon, we are already enjoying the alert level 1 status of our COVID situation. And in terms of case load, yung mga kaso natin, although may mga upticks, no? Hindi naman siya mahalintulad doon sa 35,000 cases a day yung kasagsagan ng ating Omicron surge in January. No? Galing tayo ng Delta surge, bumagsak siya October, November, December. December, akala natin ay nakawala na tayo, no? Sa COVID. Only to find out, sumipabuli, Omicron variant naman. Tapos ang Delta, Omicron naman ang sumunod. So far, ang Omicron variant, ito, ang sakit din, mild. No? Ang datos at ang ebidensya na nakikita ay talagang mukhang mild siya in almost all countries where this has been detected. The Omicron variant plus the sub-variants, kasi ang Omicron wild variant or wild virus, nanganak ito eh. Naging BA 1.1, BA 2.2, BA 2.1. Tapos meron naging BA 0.4, BA 0.5. So far, hanggang ngayon, wala naman ebidensya, no, conclusive evidence to show that this is actually causing severe and critical COVID cases. And that is the answer to the question. And this is the reason why we continue to have a low risk hospital care or hospital utilization rate for non-ICU, meaning isolation and ward beds, mababa, nationally below 20%, which is a low risk, very low risk. And then, for ICU utilization rate, mababa din tayo, below 20%. Whereas ang NCR naman, it's a little over 20% ang kanyang ward and isolation, non-ICU bed utilization rate. Whereas the ICU utilization rate is also very low, less than 20%. So, ito, ang magpapakita, ito ay patunay na talagang nagkaroon na ng decoupling. Yung decoupling, kahit na mataas yung kaso, yung hospitalization rate, hindi naman survive. Mababa pa din. In fact, ang ating severe critical admissions ay mababa, less than 5%. I think it's only about 3-4%. So, it's manageable. Ang mahalaga ngayon sa ating tugon sa pandemya nito, mabantayan natin na yung health assistance capacity natin na hindi siya mabilaukan. At ang ating mga healthcare workers, hindi rin sila ma-overstretch. At alam naman niyo, saludo tayo lahat sa ating mga healthcare workers na sila yung front and center of the nation's pandemic response. Kaya saludo tayo sa kanila, dinis nila ang kanilang buhay, talagang wala tayong masabi, hindi natin matumbasan yung sakripisyo na kanilang binahagi sa ating lipunan, sa ating mga pasyente, at nakapagkalinga, nakapagsalba. Hindi sa lahat, nasalba nila. Kasagsagan ng ating Delta surge, kasagsagan ng ating Alpha and Beta surge of last year. Mataas ang case fatality rates natin during those surges. But thankfully, sa Omicron, patuloy sana ito maglimpay. Pero hindi naman ito dahilan na magpakampante tayo sa pagsunod sa ating minimum public health standards in general, and in particular the proper wearing of mask-fitted masks. Simple lang. Dalawa lang sagot dito, bakuna mask. And we will be able to get through this, hopefully usher in. We haven't ushered in the era of endemicity. So as endemic na tayo, ibig sabihin ng endemic, we already accept the fact that the virus will be here to stay. Okay? Let us not be delusional about a zero COVID policy. That cannot happen because of the nature of the virus. It is notorious for mutation. And the mutations, in turn, lead to variants of concern. As we have had 2.5 years of experience with this virus, it has fooled us several times. Akala natin okay na. Tapos biglang nagkakaroon ng mutation, nagkakaroon ng variants. So yun lang po.
Can I follow up, don't mind? Can the COVID-19 new variant be likened now to the traditional flu? And do we have figures that can justify a comparison now in terms of cases and deaths or hospitalization? So that if we are able to explain in that manner, people will be assured, or their fear will be less. If the understanding now is that this variant is just like flu, which we have had in the past. I believe, to say that is premature at this point. Because as I have told you, this variant is notorious. This virus is notorious for mutations. And we've seen how the Omicron variant has become more transmissible, about 30% more or less over the Delta variant in terms of speed of transmission. Mabilis makahawa. So, mabuti lang, hindi nagiging perigoso o hindi nagiging mapangis to cause severe critical. But again, we still don't know. Right? We are uncertain how this thing is going to further evolve. And like most other viruses, the coronaviruses, you're familiar with SARS-CoV-1, right? Ang taas ng case fatality rate, 10%. You're familiar with MERS-CoV, the Middle Eastern respiratory virus.
kanyang case fatality rate was at 36%. So almost 4 people of 10 died. So para sa atin, ideally, we want SARS-CoV-2 to become similar to the common cold virus. Okay? Pero it's hard to
It's too early.
Too early to say.
In terms of hospitalization, Secretary, during flu season, and compare it to the present COVID, is there a marked difference or is there a similarity in terms of hospitalization?
Well, there's a growing similarity. You're right, Senator Joey, no? Kasi nga, hindi naman natin pwedeng ikumpara ngayon at saka 2020. Unang-una, mataas naman ang ating vaccination rate for the primary series. We're already completely vaccinated 70 million Filipinos. And if the target or the denominator is 77 million Filipinos, we already have a 92% performance vis-a-vis our target. No? So, in other words, alam naman natin that the vaccines continue to provide protection against severe and critical COVID. So, yung mortality rate, malaki na yung binaba. Sa elderly na, kung 10%. No? Kung unvaccinated ka, there's a 10% chance you're gonna die. But because of the bakuna, bumaba yan to 1%. Pero, mataas pa rin yan compared sa ating mga usual common cold or mga our non-viral influenza. So, but maganda rin, isa sa mga hits and not miss hits ng administration is that nakapasok din natin ang mga new investigational antiviral drugs. So, alam naman natin pa natin yan. Tocilizumab, Remdesivir, Paxlovid. Ang dami, no? Mga natin yan ang EUAs, Emergency Use Authorization. Yan nakatulong din yan to prevent mind from deteriorating into severe and critical COVID infection. And because of this, because of vaccinations, because of the social curbs, yung minimum public health standards, bumaba yung ating mortality. In fact, ngayon nga, halos for June 1 to 26, parang halos wala na every day, wala ka na report of deaths. No? So, laking bagay nito. Tama ka. I think it is a reflection of your very forward, looking view, no? Ideally, the SARS-CoV-2 will become like a common cold. But today, that is more of a wishful thinking. So we have to wait for more data.
Yeah. Well said, Secretary Duque. No? And sabi ko nga, the frontliners, the health frontliners, ang pinaka-front dyan is the DOH under your. And to call a spade, no? Ang sinabi mo kanina is vaccine, bakuna, face mask, because the virus has tendency to mutate. So basically, yun yung basic na message talaga na kailangan natin i-relay sa mga kababayan natin. That the virus is still here, and vaccine, face mask, ang pinaka-importante at the minimum sec, right? No? May kasabihan naman tayo na it takes two to tango. So, to fight the crisis, the health crisis, the DOH or the government cannot do this alone. Okay? Kailangan ng DOH and the government partners. No? So, we would like to now give the mic to the immediate past president of the Philippine Medical Association, less than Dr. Benito Atienza, para mabigay mo naman yung mga inside stories while the secretary is there in the front line. Ano ang ginagawa ng mga private sector? Hindi lang mga doktor, pati yung hospital mismo and the nurses and everything. Of which Dr. Atienza, as I told you earlier, Dr. Atienza is now the Vice President of the Philippine Federation of Professional Association, PFA. So lahat ng 44 trade, PFA, Philippine Dental Nurses Association and everything, pati mga engineers, kumukuha ng mga board exam sa PRC. Nakaka-network ni Dr. Atienza. Then, can you tell us kung paano ng grupo sinusuportahan yung dinamahal natin na DOH Secretary? We're very proud of the Secretary.
Again, thank you po, Secretary, Senator Lina. Ano po ang Manila Hotel celebrating 110? Siguro na ano po yung Philippine Medical Association, we will be celebrating our 119. Bago po nagkaroon ng DOH na ano po yung Philippine Medical Association.
Oh, excuse me, ha? Last week, we were 124.
Ay, tao na pala. So, 124. Sabi po doon sa story natin. 124 na po pala.
Manila Hotel was already conceived in year 1900.
Yes po, the Philippine Medical Association is the largest organization composed po of 88,000 members all over the country. We have 17 regions, and during this pandemic, we promised that we will help the DOH in the management of the COVID-19, and even before 2021, before po lumabas yung ating vaccination, we promised that the Philippine Medical Association will teach our community. We promise that we will be involved in the teaching, screening, vaccination, and monitoring of the vaccinated persons all over the country. And the Philippine Medical Association is the one who suggested DOH and IATF of having our national vaccination days. And it was launched po November with President Duterte. At napakaganda po ng outcome ng sinuggest namin. And nandun po si Secretary Duque. And we reached po 2.7 in a single day na nakapag-abuna po tayo. This is very timely kasi noong November po, doon po nagkaroon ng 6 cases po na confirmed ng Omicron at that time. Bago po tumas yung nagkaroon tayo ng Omicron, dumami, ay marami na po tayo na bakunahan ng first dose, then second dose, after 4 to 6 months, marami tayo. And this is one of the reason bakit po yung Pilipinas ay ngayon ay pinag-anin po tayo. Binigyan po tayo ng importansya ng WHO, and WHO said that the vaccine saved more than 20 million deaths around the world due to vaccination. And for me, this is very important thing. Ako po na bigyan ng 2 dose ng AstraZeneca and 2 doses of Pfizer. At kahit po ako na-expose, kasi na-expose sa positive COVID, hanggang ngayon po, kami ni Secretary Duque hindi pa nagpang-positive due to our vaccines. And the important thing that is, as healthcare workers, we, yung minimum protocol na nagmamas kami, yung airflow dapat maganda, at saka yung distancing sinusunod po namin. The important thing is, like in our family, ilang doctors kami, we handle COVID cases, pero until now, kasi importante po kahit may vaccines tayo, we continue to be, sundin natin ang health protocols. And sa unang bugso po ng pandemic, noong March 2020, COVID po ang nagkaka-COVID, pero sino po yung tinamaan? Ang mga doctors natin, ang our frontliners, and we would like to thank the DOH for prioritizing the healthcare workers to be vaccinated first, lalo po yung ating immunocompromised. And until now, we are doing our best to convince our non-vaccinated persons to be vaccinated, and especially the immunocompromised, the senior citizens, sana magpa-booster po sila. For my experience po, natapunta po ako ng Europe to attend the World Medical Association, and we are proud that dati nahiya ako kasi dami nating cases, pero we are proud that during April, almost less than 200 lang po, less than 100 ang kapag ng COVID. And during that we are proud na nakaka-attend na po ako ng different association by Zoom. At nakita po natin dati tayo ang pinakamarami sa pinakamarami sa Southeast Asia and Asia. Ngayon po, wala na po tayo sa top Philippine. Nasa na po to 70 po tayo ngayon. Kasi ang dadami pa ng ating mga kapitbahay sa Asia na matataas. And this was brought about by magandang management natin ng vaccination and other management po natin. At naniwala po ngayon sa panguna ng DOH, and we support them all over 2 years.
Well, the first trivia na hindi masyadong alam ng bayan, and very popular itong national vaccination drive, no? The National Vaccination Day. No? Alam ng lahat, itong trivia. Ito pala, idea ng private sector. No? Na talagang, if not for the Secretary to embrace this, no, hindi nangyari. So, the private sector is really very important in the fight, no? Sa COVID-19, no? So that's the trivia. Dr. Olarte, can you comment as past president of the Philippine Medical Association? You are also active, silently, supporting the government. No? Tahimik lang po ang private sector. And kami, nasasaktan din kami sa private sector pag medyo kinikriticize yung mga frontliners na talagang katulad ni Secretary who is really hardworking. And gusto lang namin ngayon sabihin yung mga inside stories ng mga events na hindi nyo nalaman kung gaano nahirap itong laban against COVID. Dr. Olarte.
Okay, magandang umaga po sa inyo lahat. As the president of the Clean Air Philippine Movement Incorporated, my primary concern is air pollution. And I would like to inform you that air pollution has been the cause of about 6 million deaths globally, yearly. And it has also contributed to the spread of COVID-19. We believe that COVID-19 is airborne. And aerosols, droplets, and air pollution coming from different sources, especially now when we are going back alive to pre-pandemic times. I can recall that during the lockdown period, malinis ang hangin, mababa ang air pollution level dito sa Metro Manila and throughout the country. Pero ngayon, bumabalik na ang traffic. Matindi na naman ang air pollution, no? Coming here only, na-traffic ko dyan sa corner ng TAP and itong papunta dito sa Malacanang, no? So, traffic is really also the main cause of air pollution. 80% of our air pollution is due to our traffic conditions. So, being good citizens, we are concerned primarily about health. Let us see to it that our vehicles are in tip-top condition. Hindi sila bumubuga ng maitim na usok. Pag ginagamit natin ang ating mga sakyanan na suboptimal ang kanyang machine condition, bumubuga ng usok, no? Ayan ay masama para sa ating environment. So, bilang presidente ng Clean Air Philippine Movement, we want to contain the spread of COVID-19 air. The cleanliness of our air is very important. No? So, please see to it that your vehicles are in tip-top condition. Hindi bumubuga ng maitim na usok. Pag bumubuga ng itim na usok yan, huwag na lang inyong gamitin. Dalhin ninyo sa mekaniko at ipapagawa ang inyong sasakyanan para maging malinis ang ating hangin. Okay? So, yun po ang aming masasabi dito sa Clean Air Philippine Movement.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dr. Olarte, tama yung sinasabi niyo. No? Another trivia. No? Itong Clean Air Philippines, headed by Dr. Olarte, is an environmentalist group. No? So, minsan, nagtatanong sila, environmentalist group kayo, di ba, usok yung mga nilalaban nyo, pollution, etc. Bakit kayo nakikisawsaw dito sa COVID issue? Well, the answer there, first of all, is Dr. Olarte is a doctor. He's not only a doctor, he's also a lawyer. And he was past president of the PMA. That's one answer. But, the real answer there sa question na ganyan is this. No? Since ang gusto ng Clean Air Philippines is really to have clean and safe air, in 2019, the latest air pollution, the pollution in the air na nangyari sa Pilipinas, sa buong mundo, is a different kind of pollution, an infectious type of pollution. This is the virus. So, the Clean Air Philippines consider COVID as a pollution, as a pollutant of a different kind. No? So, that's the reason why the Dr. Larry is doing all this stuff. No? So, that's the second trivia. No? Now, let me ask Dr. Atienza, going back to the first trivia. Dr. Atienza, ano ba talagang nangyari doon? Bakit biglang nag-suggest ng national vaccination program yung private sector headed with the PMA through our secretary here? No? Anong nangyari? And incidentally, we would like to show you a picture of the presidential award that was given to the Philippine Medical Association by our beloved president, PRRD. No? So, it's there para makita nyo na this is already a testimony of what the Philippine Medical Association did silently in partnership with our Department of Health. Anyway, sige, balikan mo. Ano bang mga nangyari? Bakit nagkaroon ng gano'n? There was a meeting, then a certain officer of the PMA. Can you really?
Actually, that it just started when our conduit is Dr. Herbosa. Even in holiday ko, November 1 nangyari, Dr. Herbosa called me that Secretary Galvez and Secretary Duque want to meet us para sa mapag-usapan how can the private entity like PMA can help in the vaccination. And during our meeting, we have our 17 governors from different regions of the PMA. And alam ba niyo, during that time, morning, sinabi, at 1 o'clock, we gathered 150 of our Philippine Society presidents and governors at that meeting. Holiday po yun. And nandun po si Secretary Galvez, and one of our governors suggested, bakit hindi natin ibalik ang National Vaccination Day? Kasi di ba meron tayo vaccination day para sa mga bata. Sabihin natin, para lahat hindi magtatrabaho that time, lahat ang iintindihin natin yung week na yun ay ang pagpapabakuna. And we suggested with Secretary Duque, Secretary Galvez, and the IATF na i-consider to. And napakaganda ng response kasi naano namin ang lahat ng compound societies around na. Kasi hindi po gagana ang vaccination center in area kung walang doktor. Kasi kami po ang nag-i-screen, tapos tinutulungan po yung pag-vaccinate ng ibang members ng PFPA, mga nurses, mga midwives, at napakaganda po kasi ang National Vaccination Days natin, talagang pila-pila po, like ginamit po natin schools, mga malalaking malls, yung may large po tayo, may mga large vaccination areas, at nakita natin ang partnership ng LGU, ng mga professionals, health professionals, ng DOH, coordinated po. Even, alam ba ninyo ang dadala ng ating mga bakuna sa mga centers ay mga sundalo. Kaya well coordinated. At nakita natin, like in Lipa, ang namin sa isang school, nila nagamit namin, o yung mga private institution, at saka po yung mga malls na gagamit. At nakikita nila, kapag maraming nakikita sila, o may pamilya ang pumunta sa mga vaccination centers. At this is effective po. Kaya po, nagkaroon din tayo ng vaccination for the children. Tinusap po natin ang Philippine Philippine Society. At saka importante po ang tulong ng medical experts at saka po yung mga researchers natin sa pagbabakuna at even in our all regional assemblies at mga nagre-lecture po ay galing sa expert. Yun po ang inano po natin sa regional, maniwala sa experts palagi po lalo sa pagbabakuna. Nakatulong po ito and even ngayon po pinayagan na po ng DOH at sa ating na magbigay na rin ng pagbabakuna ng booster sa ating mga clinics, specialty clinics at saka po dun sa mga industrial clinics kaya at saka sa mga pharmacy. Kaya available na po yan. Nasa sa atin na po na magpapakuna tayo at magpabooster. Kaya napakalaki po ng role ng partnership ng DOH sa IATF sa ating mga private organization.
I'm sure this question will interest members of the media because this question pertains to the controversy that erupted between the governor of Cebu and DILG. So ito maganda itong pangsulat sa of course, as reported, all is well that ends well. That was reported in the papers that if the report is correct, the DILG blinked and said, as reported, no, I'm reading from, I read it from the report, that it's okay that the ordinance in question by the provincial government of Cebu is okay. That's how it ended, based on the report. That's why I'm saying it's based on the report. Now, legally, this is the caveat because I'm speaking as a lawyer and as a former legislator. Bayanihan 1 and Bayanihan 2 granted the President emergency powers, while the public health emergency was declared first by the Department of Health, and later on by the President because the public health emergency threatens already the national security, and that is the condition in the law. Republic Act 11332. First is the DOH that declares public health emergency, but if it already threatens national security, and as a matter of fact it did, then the President will declare the state of public health emergency. But that declaration does not automatically grant the President emergency powers. The extent of or the result of the declaration of the public health emergency by the President is to authorize the local governments and the national government to mobilize funds. But it did not grant emergency powers. As a matter of fact, Congress was the one that enacted Bayanihan 1 and Bayanihan 2, and therein the emergency powers are granted, and the DOH and the other agencies were given delegated the emergency powers coming from the President. IATF can issue rules and regulations taking off from that emergency powers of the President. President Olarte, Dr. Olarte is nothing he said, he's also a lawyer. But this Bayanihan 1 and Bayanihan 2 have long expired. And therefore, the national government, legally speaking, is vulnerable to attack when it issues rules and regulations that may curtail liberties of people. Liberties of people can be curtailed with the President exercising emergency powers. As an outgoing Secretary Duque, will you recommend to the incoming administration to remove all doubt as to the powers of the national government to respond to this ongoing pandemic? It has not yet ended. Continue exercising emergency powers for a limited period. Again, that phrase for a limited period is in the Constitution. You cannot exercise emergency powers forever. It has to be for a limited period of time. So to remove any doubt as to whether the national government, the executive department can exercise emergency powers, we do recommend to the incoming administration to ask Congress for another set of emergency powers to cover these concerns like wearing face mask or even later on face shield, social distancing, alert level 1, 2, 3, 4, the basis of which are the emergency powers.
Number one, I'm not a lawyer.
That's why may kapihan ako.
Yes. I really don't know where you're coming from, Mr. Senator, just to be frank about it.
Just as objective as I could get.
Okay.
No hidden agenda.
Yeah.
I'm asking it as a professor of local government and constitutional law.
Yes.
I happen to be teaching. So
Yes.
I think this is a very valid question so that the national government and the local government can get up together, remove any obstacle or doubt.
Yeah, I think you are probably the unassailable authority when it comes to laws. And your understanding of the Constitution, but my simple understanding is that the President derived his mandate to declare upon the recommendation of the Department of the state of public health emergency, which we are still in, and up to September. That declaration of the President will last until September, which means it's going to already overlap, okay, with the next administration. Okay. But I am on the simple view that the President's power attribution has always been from the Constitution, not necessarily by anyone to do. So the declaration of public health emergency is constitutionally grounded. So in by 1 and 2 are just enabling laws for other provisions that will help government to respond to the pandemic using the whole of government machinery and principally, books. I could be wrong, I'm not a lawyer. But today, as a public health practitioner, my only concern is that people remain safe. And how do they remain safe? By discipline, compliance with the minimum public health standards in general, social distancing, hand hygiene, and in particular, the correct use of respiratory masks. Now, the view of the President in his directive to the Cabinet, continuing directive, was that mask mandate will last until the end of this term, 12 June or June 13. Now, why is he bent on making sure that this is followed? Because the higher paramount value is public health, protection of our people. And the view of the President is national, it's not local. Because if you're going to allow a local government unit to pass an ordinance that digresses or that deviates from the national policy, and then you have people coming in and out of the LGU jurisdiction, mahirap naman yun, di ba? That's dangerous because you're now telling the local government units independently, you can pass your ordinance and set your own standards of protecting public health. I think that's going to be, number one, nakakatakot. Because, ibig sabihin niya, magkakahawa kayo sa iba na kanyang standards, no? Ang mga tao pupunta sa lugar mo na walang standards of protection, may ibang lugar may standards of protection, unless sasabihin mo walang movement. Hindi ka pwede pumasok sa isang LGU na maluwag yung kanyang panuntunan. Dahil ako, ang LGU ko, mahigpit kami, ay di ko palalabasin yung tao na papunta sa'yo. Hindi ganoon ang perspective ng isang national leader in the likes of President Duterte. Kasi siya broad, national ang kanyang perspective. So, mahirap po. Para sa akin lang, again, as public health practitioner, it is of paramount importance or value that we continue to let our people protect themselves. Because, in the end, this is really a matter of a sense of citizenship. That you have to be responsible for your own protection, and so that in doing so, you're protecting your families and your communities. So it becomes a collective effort, and it cannot be individualized. So, yun lang po. Salamat po.
Well, precisely, I started off by referring to the case already. And if that decision, if the report is correct, the decision of the DILG runs counter to what you just said. Because the net effect of that decision, if that is correct, I mean, if it is as reportedly printed in one of the national dailies, then every local government can now issue an ordinance mandating optional use of the mask. This is a very particular issue. Even the president has, as you correctly said, mandated that. But the alter ego, the DILG, if the report is correct, I always the report is that DILG bring. So, Cebu can issue that ordinance, others can follow suit. That's why I was saying a while ago, and that to remove any doubt, because declaration of public health emergency does not carry with it the grant of emergency powers. In the Constitution, it's very clear, emergency powers have to be granted by the President in case of war or national emergency for a limited period to address the emergency. So to remove any doubt, because the emergency is still there. However, the law expired. Yeah, but that's not a law. An EO is not a law. A law is one passed by Congress. And the Constitution is very specific. It's the President that is granted by Congress the emergency powers. So, to remove any doubt that is what I said. So that we do not see that spectacle of one local government issuing another standard, another standard, and all that. So my question was, would you recommend, just to be sure, to be safe, that the standard is followed nationwide, that the new administration asks Congress to grant emergency powers again for a certain period, maybe for 1 year, unless sooner revoked or the President asks that it be end. That I think that's a very fair observation.
Again, I proceed from the public health perspective. And I'm supportive because it will belong to the collective benefit of people from the perspective of public health. And so any laws that will improve certainty or certitude to what extent the President, beyond declaration of the state of public health emergency, he can actually exercise, your emergency powers as will be provided in that new law. So I support it. I'm one with you, certainly, Mr. Salon. Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Olarte, attorney na doktor pa. Can we get a legal opinion from you?
Oh, okay. I hope that the report was not false or it was not, that's it. Yeah, it was a misinformation. But really, it is a concern if the DILG blinked or just let it pass. Despite the fact that it was a clear violation of the IATF policy, then that is really something that is of concern, serious concern, that an LGU can flagrantly violate a nationally instituted directive or policy to be followed, and that is in the case of wearing a face mask. So, if that is the case, then the DILG should be asked by Congress to explain why did you blink? Why did you let it pass when clearly the provincial government of Cebu violated flagrantly a national policy of wearing a face mask? Now, if I were the one asked whether or not whether to recommend to the next administration or to Congress the passage of an emergency power for the president, I think I would not. I'd leave it to the next president and his cabinet members and his advisors to determine what is the best action for their administration. But to me, although there is an increase in the cases of COVID, it's not really the one that should be of great concern and can be a basis for another declaration by Congress of granting the President emergency powers. There is a very delicate balance between health, public health, and economy. We are in a quagmire. We are in an economic recession. The dollar is already 55 pesos to $1. Although the OFWs are very happy about it, the common tao really will not be happy if we have this economic quagmire that we are now in. So my view is that the DILG, if it is correct that it blinked, should be asked to explain. They should really follow the national law, the national policy.
Well, ang ganda ng discussion, no? So, light, tapos nagiging a little bit serious, no? But anyway, going back sa PMA, no? We would like to ask our good secretary here, sort of an update sa partnership ng private sector at government sectors, specifically on the national vaccination day activity na sinimula, no? Under your leadership. No? Ano ba ngayon yung mga updates na pwede natin i-report sa bayan sa mga vaccinations natin?
Well, first of all, I am pleased to inform our people that as of latest count, we have a little over 70 million Filipinos who have been completely vaccinated with the primary series, no? And that's about 92% thereabouts, no, of our target of 77 million Filipinos. The private sector is an important building block in the national rollout of the national vaccination program against COVID. And so we congratulate the private sector for the substantive role that they play or assume in terms of outcome of our vaccination rollout. But we continue to solicit the support of the private sector, in particular the desire to expand booster dose coverage, which remains to be a difficult challenge. The first booster dose as of last week was only about 24% coverage. NCR has relatively the highest booster dose coverage. that is important because NCR is a major economic region or engine of the country, and it is best that our people in this NCR are protected for extended period of time, which the boosters provide. So again, the private sector, there is no doubt, its role is significant. Whatever outcomes we have today in terms of addressing the pandemic, the private sector participation is very much evident, if not powerful. So we thank them, and we continue to ask them to support us to further work on the more difficult challenge of scaling up our booster dose, increasing our booster dose coverage. So, but in the whole area of prevention, detection, isolation, treatment, reintegration, vaccination, private sector has always been with us, side by side, shoulder to shoulder, and we would have not been successful without the very important role of the private sector. The Philippine Medical Association in particular, we had, after the Res Vacunas Budica, we had the Res Vacunas Agritica, again with the collaboration of the Philippine Medical Association, and they called upon all the physician members of the PMA precisely to support a more vigorous, a more, I would say, significant push for people to access more vaccination sites, and they offered the clinics. So again, kudos to the Philippine Medical Association for all their support.
Yes, yes, and I have another serious question. Go ahead, sir. The intention,
Make our day.
Mr. Secretary and fellow members of the panel, the intention here is just to bring out some matters that may not have been considered in the past, so that moving forward, if these ideas are accepted, then that will be good for all. As I said, this is more academic than anything. I wrote about this matter, the question I asked, in a column in the Manila Bulletin, that actually the IATF should not have been the one on top of the COVID-19 response. It should have been the DOH from the very beginning. The IATF was a creation of an executive order in 2014. It is an ad hoc body, an interim or a temporary body. But there was a law passed in if I'm not mistaken, 2016. This is Republic Act 11332. Yes. And in this law, very clear, it's not only emerging diseases or whatever, notifiable diseases, but it's within the pandemic. COVID-19 falls under this. Okay? And it says here, under section, members of the media are invited to look into this. No? Again, the intention is to bring out these ideas. Because I think Congress had the right sense to pass a law that will address epidemics or pandemics already, not on an ad hoc basis, but on a permanent basis, unlike the IATF.
You know, what it says here, it's the DOH that is overall in charge, not the task force. And under section 6, it says, rapid containment, quarantine and isolation, disease prevention, and control measure, and product recall. This grant of power to the DOH is all expansive. Andito lang lahat eh. Rapid containment, quarantine and isolation, disease prevention and control, wearing of the face mask, wearing of face shields. DOH is already granted the power. In fact, no need for emergency power as far as rapid containment, quarantine and isolation, disease prevention and control measures, and even product recall. The grant of power to DOH is plenary, to the exclusion of any other body, because this is the act of Congress signed by the President. It's a law. Anyway, I'm just bringing it up.
For the reference of our friends sa Libya, anong batas ba yan? Can you repeat the Republic Act?
11.3.2.
This is notifiable act of public health concern.
This is where the Secretary of Health is given the power to declare epidemics or pandemics, and if it concerns national security, it's the President that declares the public health emergency. Nandito sa section 6 of the law. And one of the powers, dami powers given to the DOH. So I thought that it should not have been the IATF. The DOH should have taken the bull by its horn, and the government should have utilized this law. Now, if this law needs to be amended, improve the part, because no law is permanent, it has to meet changing situation, this can be further amended so that the permanent nature of the mechanism is in place. And it's the DOH. Wala nang iba. Anyway, Secretary, I wrote about it in a column.
Yeah, it's a welcome position. I think this is for the...
Although you're the chairman of IATF,
Yes.
but you are sharing the power with others.
Yeah, because the President's position, if I may, with all due respect, is that the overarching principle, one of the overarching principles in our pandemic response is really a whole of government approach. So that I think the wisdom there is if you constitute the IATF through a continuing executive order in 2014 by President Aquino, the President expanded the membership, in fact, from 8 to 34. So it's a full cabinet member IATF policy-making body, again consistent with the wisdom of the President that the DOH cannot do this alone. It will take forever for the DOH to respond to this. So the President, I think his wisdom was to make it easier for the DOH through collaboration with 33 other government agencies to really come up with a pandemic plan where everybody has a significant role to play. So AFP, PNP, PILG, PNP, lahat, no exception. But I concede that there is the law. And the grant of powers to the DOH is indeed plenary. But this is indeed the wisdom of President Duterte, that this is a whole government approach, and therefore the constitution of an expanded IATF body is in order to precisely accelerate the pandemic response to its logical outcome, which then we are all enjoying the results of the hard work that the collective IATF has done. to deliver precisely the benefits that we all know and enjoy. Thank you.
So mga kaibigan, as I told you before, this forum is going to be something different, no? Mga inside stories and all this stuff. Umiinit yung discussion, no? The discussion is going wild, no? Wild. W-I-L-D, wild, no? But the wild, sa sinasabi ko, gusto kong tanungin si Secretary Duque on the issue on the wild thing, no? Sec, since puro COVID yung pinag-usapan natin and the discussion is heating up, no? Let me ask you a question about wild. Let me ask you a wild question. W-I-L-D. Waterborne disease, influenza, leptospirosis, and dengue. Second, can you comment on these things, yung latest na mga ginagawa ng DOH to address this wide concern?
Yeah, this is a yearly concern of the department, and in particular, the leptospirosis and dengue, cases are up every time the wet season sets in, no? And we are in the wet season. So we have heard and seen the numbers go up in several regions with respect to dengue outbreaks, no? And we have already instructed our regional centers for health development offices, our directors, to closely coordinate efforts to control the dengue outbreak in regions like CAR, Region 6, Region 9, and Region 5, and many other regions to ensure that the 4S strategy is implemented by the local government units. The health functions operationally have been devolved to the LGUs. No? So the DOH continues to guide implementation of containment measures, preventive measures, health promotion measures, and treatment capacities, no, of the different LGUs to precisely address the ongoing dengue surge in those regions. No? So yung 4S is really seek early consultation. Deaths from dengue are happening because of late admissions, late consultations. So this can be prevented. Madali lang po ito. Pagka may simptomas sa isang barangay, nakilala, meron nang nakalat ng mga dengue, dahil po na po sa ospital. Meron po tayong detection test, rapid testing dyan. Malalaman natin kung talagang dengue ito. And the supportive, wala kasing gamot ito, dengue. Supportive treatment lang ito. So, against fever, paracetamol, dehydration, so yun o kaya isiswero kayo para hindi manuyo ang katawan at para malayo sa peligro, bunsod ng dengue infection. So, yung isang S is self-protective measures. Kailangan hanggang sa mga arin, mahabang pantalon, mahabang manggas na mga t-shirt, iwasan na may itim ng mga kulay na kasuotan. Kasi dyan ang gusto-gusto ng dengue, dumako. Dahil alam niyo, may itim yung dengue with white pants, no? Yan, sa araw kumakagat. Siguro sabihin natin, ang tanga naman ng lamok na ito, dahil bakit sa araw siya nangangagat, kitang-kita siya kasi itim siya, no? Pero why siya? Tatago siya sa mga madidilim, sa mga lugar. Okay? One. Number two, yung dengue mosquito, Aedes aegypti, na-encode na niya yung tinatawag natin blind spots of the human being. Yung blind spot, kakagat siya, alanganin yung likod ng katawan, ng binte, alanganin din yung gilid. So, doon sa lugar na hindi mo papansinin, no? So, wala na rin sa likod, wala sa harap. Dahil magaling siya, alam niya manago, ano? So, yun ang kailangan talaga maging mataas kamalayan natin. Titigil ka kung saan yung mga lugar na magaling siyang tumago, blind spot ng tao. Pangatlo, yung say yes to fogging if for 2 weeks meron ng continuing outbreak o dengue. No? And panghuli, search and destroy. Simple, walang gastos, ikaw lang natin ang mga basyo, ang lahat na pwedeng pamugaran ng lamang at titikite para maibsan ang kalat ng dengue. Tawag lang, takpan. Ano ba naman yun? Mahirap ba yun? Eh, laking benepisyo at malaking halaga ito, mga gawain na ito, para matigil ang outbreak at maiwasan ang pagpanaw ng buhay, mga bata, ang madalas tamaan, batang lalaki, madalas tamaan ng dengue, lalo sa mga mansama. So, isa yan. Pangalawa, doon sa sinasabi natin, leptospirosis, sa ganun pa din, sinalihan na natin ang mga local government units, yung all year round, yung kanilang flood control projects, no? Kasi dyan, yung wastewater, sa katuparan ng batas, yung Senator Jovian, na dapat ay ang mga baha dahil dyan na effect ng tihig, ng taga, ng leptospirosis, yan ang nakakahawa. So, sa mga tao, kaya nakabota. Kung nagtatrabaho, hindi pwedeng lumusok sa baha na naka-chinelas ka, lalo na kung fungal infection, doon ang pasukan ng leptospira organism na pwede makamatay, no? Tama ng kidney mo, kidney failure ka dyan. So, ito yung mga preventive measures, no? Kung maiwasan, iwasan. Pero tingin nyo na baha kayo, pumunta na kayo kagad, magkukonsulta na sa pinakamalapit na City Health Office o sa inyong Municipal Health Office at handaran na sila sa ilang gamit dyan, doxycycline, no? Prophylaxis, na actual treatment, kung talagang infected ka lang. So, all the measures are in place. No? So, yung mga waterborne infection, yan yan. Cholera, typhoid, hepatitis A, usual, nakakuluan lang ng tubig ng higit 3 minuto. Siguraduhin na ang paghahanda ng pagkain, ang pagluluto, tama. No? Mainit, hindi yung malamig, kakainin mo, tapuhan ng langaw, galing sa dumi yung langaw, at na-contaminate yung pagkain, umpisa na ng sakit yan. So, lahat itong mga paalaala na ito, patuloy na pinamahagi ng inyong department para malaman ng ating mga kababayan ng kahalagahan ng health promotion, disease prevention measures. And in the end, ay lahat tayo maging malusog at malayo sa panganib ng nakamamatay ng mga sakit. Marami ito, mga sakit na binagyan sa wild ito, ay talagang pwede makamatay. So,
I don't know if this is serious or light question. It depends on the recipient of the question.
Go ahead,
So, Secretary Duque, many of the cabinet posts have already been filled up. Of course, the assumption will be on July 1st of the new appointees. But the DOH has not been touched as of yet. There are names that are being mentioned as possible appointees or appointee to the Department of Health. Is it possible that you are to be retained? Or if you are not retained, what will you do? You have been in government for some time. We were together. 21 years. Pareho tayo. 21 years. We were together during the first term of Secretary of President Doria. Then you were with the Civil Service Commission. Then you were back to the department. You were with yes. And then you're back now. Of course, we were under you. When you were under when you were at the helm of the yes, we are your tenant on the land where Manila Hotel stands. So, what is the future for Secretary Duque? You see, it's either light or serious. It depends on the recipient of the question. Did I put you on the spot?
Well, this I can say, I am retiring for good, no? And I'm going back to the academia. I'm going back to help manage the family-run university in the Guban and Undaleta city of Pangasinan. So essentially, that's my plan, is to shift towards the education sector, academia in particular, teach, incorporate universal healthcare in the medical and allied medical courses, so that there's a better appreciation of our students on the principles and policies underpinning the implementation of the universal healthcare law. So, the answer to the question is, number one, it is speculative that they might retain me. I mean, I leave that to your imagination, but as far as I'm concerned, I am back. And I'm right back to my city and province of Pangasinan, city of Duque, and that is what the future holds for me. Thank you.
Sec. Before we open the Q&A portion, hihirit lang ako ng last final trivia for our friends here. You know, this is the second time around the Secretary Duque here at DOH, no? And on the second time around as DOH Secretary, one of the first media forum na nag-guest si Secretary Duque on the second time around as DOH Secretary is KAPIHAN SA Manila Hotel several years ago. Now the trivia is 2 days from now, si Sec will be going back to the private sector, as he said, no? Then, kami ulit sa KAPIHAN SA Manila Hotel, yung binigyan ng good secretary natin ng chance to have a take-to-take intimate one with him. No? Maraming salamat, Sec Picoy. Maraming salamat po. Now, can we open the Q&A? I would like to call first to do the question. Our friend from RTN News, no? CNN, sorry, CNN pala. Matanda na ako, no? RTN. CNN, from our friend Caroline Duque, to please ask the first question from the guest here. Caroline?
Good morning po, Secretary. My first question po is, Secretary, may nabanggit na po ba sa inyo kung sino na po yung papalit? Secretary, and kamusta po yung transition po? May napag-usapan na po ba kung paano magiging transition? Especially we're in the middle of the pandemic po.
Yung papalit, yan ay ipaubayan natin yan sa susunod na administrasyon, si President Bongbong Marcos. May sariling proseso sila sa pagpili ng susunod na Secretary of Health. Ngayon, may mga narinig ang mga pangalan, at para sa akin, lahat sila qualified, lahat sila magaling, lahat sila nagkaroon ng pagkakataon tumulong sa ating pandemic response, from the policy level to the implementation of the IATF PDITR, this vaccination strategy. So, I think it will be good for the next administration or for President Bongbong Marcos to choose someone. I mean, this is my humble manifestation. Is yung nakakaalam na, kasi they to already hit the ground running, so to speak. So they build on whatever gains this administration was able to accomplish. No? So it is wise to get someone who already knows what to do. Kung magkakaroon ka dyan ng hindi naman nakakaintindi at kulang sa kaalaman at expertise, no? Baka magka-problema pa tayo. Maganda na estado natin, no? Nakita naman natin, we're all enjoying face-to-face, full transport capacity, full establishment capacities, lahat na, face-to-face process will soon go full blast for 2022-2023 school year. So, yun na yun. Tingin ko, antayin lang natin, meron na yan. Hindi naman yan mahirap. But yung proseso, yun ang dinadaanan ngayon yung mga no-means with Convener. Tapos, yung transition, pwede na kami. Tagal na kami ready sa transition. We have 170 policy issuances for the IATF. All we need to do is to give it to the next administration for a committee to study all these policies, make an assessment, evaluate the impact of these policies in terms of implementing, prevent, detect, isolate, treat, mitigate vaccination strategy. No problem when it comes to the transition. And then secondly, remember that the IATF, which consists of 34 national government agencies, the secretaries will soon meet for the most part, but the deputies, the undersecretaries who are career executives, they will remain. So, wala na tayong problema. Basta, sana lang pagpatuloy and build on the gains of this current administration. Salamat.
Secretary, just to clarify, yung sinasabi mo na sana ang incoming President PPM ay nakakaalam na meaning, nakakaalam, meron ng experience or has been involved in the pandemic response.
Yes.
And you've mentioned may alam niyo po na may mga nominees na. Alam niyo po kung ilan yung pinagpipilian?
I'm sorry, I'm not privy to how many. So I can only guess, and it's as good as your guess.
And then, next na lang po, Secretary, you mentioned earlier that the President's mandate will only be effective until midnight of June 30.
Noon.
Noon, sorry. Noon po, June 30. Sorry. What happens to the current protocols? Like, for example, wearing the mask, IATF mandates, will still be in effect until incoming President Bongbong Marcos decides whether to abolish or retain the IATF law?
The action kasi of the IATF, it is a legal body. It has its juridical personality. So, whatever resolutions have been approved by the task force, that will continue. But it is in the act of the administration to review those resolutions, and it deems fit that a review must be conducted of all of these. Then it is well within their power to do exactly just that. And then they can amend, it is also well within their mandate to make whatever amendments are in order or applicable to the evolving situation. In pandemic, we're still in the pandemic. The period of public health emergency will not be lifted until September, okay, because that's the expiration of the declaration of public health emergency September. So, yun lang.
Thank you, Secretary.
Yes. Next, please identify yourself and the media outlet that you are connected with. Thank you.
Magandang umaga po. Ating pong katanungan ay address
Can you identify yourself and your media outlet?
Ako po ay si Jolan Santos, newspaperman, manunulat po sa literature, book author, at higit po sa lahat ay novelista po sa comics. Ang tanong ko po ay, gusto ko na rin po pala idagdag ng aking pong audience sa aking panulat ay mga magsasaka at mga mangingisda, karamihan. Ang tanong ko po ay karaniwang nadidinig ko na natulog ko na po ba Ginoong kalihim ang paniniwala ng iba na ang COVID-19 ay galing sa China. Isa po yun sa tanong. Pangalawa pong tanong ay ang mga naglalaro sa isipan ng mga ayaw magpabakuna na pag daw nabakunahan sila lalong iikli ang kanilang buhay at magiging zombie. Kaya yan po nadidinig ko po yan na mga tanong sa kaisipan ng iba pong ayaw papaguna. Kaya po dalawa po yung tanong ko na yun. Natuldukan na po ba yung mga tanong ng COVID-19 ay galing sa China? Isa po yun. At magiging zombie raw, madaling mamamatay ang mga napakunahan.
Second is our friends from the social media.
Oh, yes. Magandang umaga po sa inyo.
Hindi lang tayo conventional media dito. Kapisanan na social media broadcasters ng Pilipinas. We also have social media bloggers here.
Ito lang po ang maiksing kasagutan. Yung po unang mga natukoy na kaso ng COVID-19 ay galing sa Wuhan City ng China. Ngayon, kung ito ba ay sadya na ginawa through a synthetic process, wala naman pong ebidensya na nagpapakita na ganoon. So, malinaw ito ay nanggaling sa hayop, no? Yung iba sa paniki, yung bat. No? So, this could be a classic example of zoonosis. Ang zoonosis ay sakit sa mga tao na galing po sa mga hayop. Nagaling po sa mga animals. No? Sa pangalawang kasagutan, babalikan ko kayo ng tanong. Kayo ba'y bakunado na?
Ako po, bakunado po.
Kayo po ba ay booster na?
Opo.
Okay, then, congratulations. Meron ba kayong nagsuzombie na kayo?
Ay, wala na po. Kahit kasasaling
Okay. So, palingin ko, yan, sagot na yan, malinaw na halos 7 of the 7 billion global citizens, mga siguro 60 to 65, 70% na bakunado. Wala pa naman akong report na zombie galing sa isang bansa o sa isang lugar. So, halinawa ay hindi po totoo yung mga pag-iisip na iyan. At salamat po, at least naitanong ninyo at maganda naman na yung mga naniniwala sa teorya ng zombie malinawan na po. Salamat.
Thank you very much. Salamat, pinamali.
Next question from our friend from DMA 7, si Lay. All this. Okay.
Good morning, Sec. Sir, it was announced by Malacanang that the IATF revised the metrics for the alert level classification. So, bakit po, why was it revised po?
Well, we revised it. Number one, the answer to your question is yes, we have revised the metrics to guide IATF in its decision whether to escalate within the alert leveling system or de-escalate. Now, we used to have, in terms of direct COVID cases and indicators, tatlong metrics. One is the 2-week growth rate. Tinanggal na natin yun. The 2-week growth rate is no longer relevant at this time. Kasi 2-week growth rate ka, kung 0 case ka, tapos nagkaroon ka ng tatlo, 300% ka agad, high risk ka na, tatlong kaso lang. Anong kalokohan ba? Hindi naman na ito panahon nung wala pang bakuna. Meron tayong bakuna at maganda yung masking rate natin. In fact, ang masking rate natin, sabi ng Johns Hopkins University, nagkaroon sila ng survey from September last year to April this year na ang masking compliance ng Pilipinas. Kaya magaling tayo na. Sabi ko sa mga kababayan natin at ng Pilipino, congratulations, ang masking rate natin, 91 to 96%. Kaya ano ba yung differentiator natin na mataas ang, tingnan mo ngayon, ang Singapore, 600 plus per million population ng incidence na COVID nila. Grabe. Yan na, unahan na natin. Alam mo sa COVID-19 recovery index, we achieved 2 quantum leaps. Leap from 121 rank, naging 57 in November last year, and now May, number 32. Naunahan na natin ang Switzerland. Naunahan natin ang Israel. Naunahan natin ang Canada, America, New Zealand, Australia, Singapore. Lahat sila, we already outlined them. They are between 40 and 90 rank of the list of countries assessed by the Nikkei Asia. So, again, this is really a testament, first to the President's leadership, and to the IATF, under the President's stewardship, that all the policies na una binapalatan tayo, tama pala. And we are now being recognized and assessed by independent or third-party evaluating bodies. So, ang masasabi ko, yung revision was forthcoming. So, dalawa na lang. Nagamitin natin, average daily attack rate. Kung below 6 ka per 100,000 population, that is low-risk classification. No? Panay sinabi ni Senator Joey Lina, sa notice tayo, 6 to 18 per 100,000, moderate risk ka. Okay? That should be an alert level 2 in the usual understanding of the implications of these metrics, no? Guiding alert leveling system for escalation and de-escalation. And pinaka-importante, healthcare utilization rate. So, yung healthcare utilization rate natin, less than nationally, we're less than 20%, ang baba. Kailangan maabuti mo ng 50 to 70% na para maging moderate. So, tingin natin, yung dalawang, yun na lang ang most accurate measure of the COVID situation. So, tinanda na namin yung isa. Para, again, to simplify, para hindi na nahirapan tayo. So, yung dalawa na lang ang ating gagamitin. And hindi rin pwede na, halimbawa, yung alarm mo, nag-moderate risk ka. Halimbawa, ang kaso, tumalo ng between 6 and 18 per 100,000 population. Hindi pa rin sapat yun. Titignan mo pa rin yung healthcare utilization rate mo. Kung ito pa, ay pumalo na rin sa 50 to 70%, warranting an escalation to level 2. No? So, ito, we are nimble, we continue to amend if the situation calls for it. No? So, ganun po yung IATF natin. Hello?
Next question, please, Sec. Sir, kailan po sisimulan yung rollout ng booster for non-immunocompromised 12 to 17 years old?
Well, they're just finalizing the guidelines as we are speaking today. So once the guidelines are finalized, ready for rollout na tayo. So since today is only Tuesday, well within the week, I suppose we can already see the booster dose being utilized for the rest of the 12 to 17 age group.
In relation to that, Sec, Presidential Adviser Joey Concepcion criticized the HTAC for its slow actions. Like, ito pong sa booster, una po, binigay po nilang condition pa na dapat ma-reach mo na yung 40% ng booster coverage sa senior citizens.
No, the 40% coverage for senior citizens as a requirement has been retracted already by the HTAC. Because the HTAC was made to understand after some meetings with the NVOC chair, Duque III, na operationally it's very difficult to make that requirement, to implement that particular requirement. Dapat in that area, babakuna ka ng rest of 12 to 17 population age group, na ang requirement po dapat kung sa lugar na yun, ng senior citizens, at least 40% ng naka-booster. And that's a very difficult requirement. It's impracticable. You can only need to delay. So, nilitrack naman ng HTAC. and with a very good cogent explanation for its retraction. But going back to what one person has been pushing for the vaccination or boostering of 50 years and above, essentially moving the threshold from 60 to 50 years of age. First, the IATF only listens to real experts. Okay? So, let's leave it at that. Yun ang aming pinapakinggan. Lahat ng ginagawa namin, nakita niyo ang resulta, bunso dito ng amin pong consultations, no, ng 11 panels of experts. So let's listen to the experts kasi the outcomes, the results na how can you argue? And a large part of these outcomes is really due to our consistent engagement with our scientists, our doctors, who are always data-driven and evidence-based, science-based recommendations that they put forward to the IATF to shape policy resolutions that will give the best benefit to our people.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you. Next, our friends from ABS-CBN, PTV5, PTV4, ABC5. Yeah, we have Vivian from
Good morning,
ABS-CBN.
Sir. Good morning, doctors. Vivian Gudia from ABS-CBN. Just going back to a topic we discussed earlier, Sec, yung pagbawi or pagtanggal itong 2-week growth rate bilang basehan sa decide kung moderate risk, yung risk level, COVID risk level ng isang lugar. Recently, meron po tayong mga areas or LGUs sa Metro Manila na ilagay sa moderate risk. Ano po ang epekto nitong pagtatanggal ng 2-week growth rate sa pag-classify sa kanila as moderate risk? Will they be downgraded back to low risk?
Yes, of course. That is the natural consequence of having devised our metrics and doing away with the 2-week growth rate, precisely because the 2-week growth rate metric has lost its significance, has lost its relevance, and to me it's an alarmist metric, and it's unnecessary. So we are nimble, and the IATF listens to our experts, and our experts are of the consensus that hindi na kailangan talaga itong 2-week growth rate. Hindi na ito panahon ng Delta or Alpha and Beta na kailangan mo yung early signals, very sensitive metrics. Hindi na, kasi bakunado na maraming malaking porsyento ng populasyon. Maganda yung masking compliance. No?
But given this new metrics, are we saying sa NCR, as we speak, wala na pong moderate risk?
Mawawala na siya. We will just have to look at the numbers again. Removing the 2-week growth rate metric, we will limit it to the average daily attacking per 100,000 population and the healthcare utilization rate, which are more accurate reflection of the real COVID situation.
The target para ma-moderate risk is at least 6 over 100,000 population. So far, wala pa po.
Wala pa.
Sa Metro Manila, no?
I think 3 is the highest so far, 3 plus per 100,000 population. So it's halfway towards reaching the threshold for moderate risk classification, which is between 6 and 80. Once you reach the threshold, then there's going to be N plus moderate risk healthcare utilization rate equals alert level 2. But we are far from that situation. I hope that that will not happen. Right? But, as I have said, the one major challenge that continues to baffle us is the unpredictability of these values. And we've seen it, right? We mutate. All of a sudden, iba na naman ng kanyang transmissibility. So, yun lang. But we are involved, and that is the one thing very good about the IATF. Talaga it respects science and data and evidence-based medicine in all its decisions.
Another update or clarification on the rollout of first booster to the general 12 to 17-year-old population. On Thursday, magkakaroon na po ng change of administration. Right now, we're finalizing the guidelines you mentioned. Is it possible tomorrow? Magsimula na kayo.
Well, I will have to defer to the NBOC head, si Lina because I really do not know whether they will be able to do this. I think they started the finalization of the guidelines. So once the guidelines are out, then they can roll it out. But again, this will be you'll be starting with NCR and hospital-based yung booster shots.
Even for the general hospital-based only.
Yeah, hospital-based.
And then, I guess yung HTAC, kaya sila naglagay ng at least 40% muna ang booster of the general population. Concerns sila about the, the supply of vaccines. Kasi Pfizer pa lang rin ba yung allowed to be vaccinated or administered as a booster?
Kawawa naman yung ating civil servant na sila kung babayad kung ano man ang kanilang na pahintulutan na bayaran. Ano? So, Manila. So, kami we're doing our jobs. Part of our governance, part of the accountability that goes with public service, no? Kaya gano'n. So, nakikiusap kami sa lahat ng mga directors, sa lahat ng mga chiefs of private hospitals and some LGU hospitals, magpadala na po kayo ng liquidation report. Di ba? Sabi nga sa akin ng director ko sa NCR, kahit na partial liquidation report, pwede na. Basta mapaliwanag saan napunta yung pondo. Kasi pondo ng taong bayan. Ano po? So, kailangan na sakto-sak. Kailangan alaman kung saan ginastos, saan kanino binigay. Ganun ang COA, ganun kahigit po ang COA. Gusto na po namin ilabas lahat. May pondo naman ang COVID allowance. Naglabas ang DBM na 7.9 billion pesos. For January, February, one COVID allowance or OCA. Pero kung wala naman liquidation, anong basis natin? Maliwanag po yan doon sa atin na memorandum of agreement with these private hospitals. Yun lang po.
Sec, just your thoughts po doon sa sinasabi ni Degrano nga na several hospitals have increased their rates by around 5 to 10% to the rising cost of basic commodities. Your thoughts on that? And what are we doing to address this?
Well, the PhilHealth, okay, I don't know if PhilHealth will have the material time to review its rates, no? Because this will impact on PhilHealth. So PhilHealth will have to make some actual actuarial studies or computation to see if yung adjustment na ginawa ng mga hospitals kaya sabayan ng PhilHealth. Kasi kung nagtaas ka ng cost mo, yung mga benefit packages mo for the members, automatic yan. Mag-i-impact yan doon sa reimbursements ng PhilHealth. Either lilit yung support value ng PhilHealth o mag-desisyon ang susunod ng PhilHealth leadership and the board na i-adjust to cover for the increases that have been implemented by these hospitals. But that is a question best answered by PhilHealth.
Sir, one last update po sa ating expiring vaccines.
The expiring vaccines as of the last report to me was about 4.7%. So the WHO allowable wastage, vaccine wastage is 10% of total received doses of vaccines.
Yes, can you identify yourself in the media outlet?
Good morning po, I'm Mark Tatalco from PTV4. Based po sa bulletin ng DOH kahapon, nasa 500 plus po pa rin yung number of severe and critical cases. However, tumaas naman po yung bilang ng mga namatay sa 51, wherein sa June 20 bulletin po ay nasa additional 6 lang po ito. Ano po yung explanation dito ng DOH kung bakit nga po tumaas yung number of deaths, and baka po sabat po ito ng panic sa tao. So, para lang din po hindi ma-misinterpret.
Well, we will have to look when those deaths actually happen. Because a lot of it did not happen just a few days ago. Some of them are late submissions from the LGUs. So this could have been deaths from prior weeks, no, or prior months, no? So we will have to see. But nakikita namin, overall, bumaba ang ating mortality rate. So in fact, sabi ko nga sa June, parang ilan lang sa June? 3 ba? June 1 to 26, what's the mortality rate? Let me just check. I hope you don't mind. Parang June, tatlo lang. Yun. So, yung report na yan could be a delayed submission of reports na.
Second na lang po, ano yung reminder natin sa mga dadalo sa inauguration po ni President-elect Marcos?
The same, you know, as we have always reminded the public, yung minimum public health standard. Kung sino man nagpupunta doon, mag-mask pa. No? Alam naman niyo, dami ng super spreader events na nagdaan, di ba? Eleksyon, Ramadan, Holy Week, caravans, rallies. Hindi pa nga nag-uumpisa officially yung campaign period in on February 8. Ang dami ng prior caravans, di ba? Yung mga motorsiklo na kilometro haba. Nag-reflect ba sa number of cases? So hopefully, dahil ng mga tao, marunong na, tama pagsunod ng mask, naiwasan natin ang hawakan. So, patutuloy po natin yung best practice natin.
Next, can you identify yourself?
Yes po.
Yeah.
Good morning po, gentlemen. Mendoza po from the Manila Times. Sec, clarification lang po. Doon sa sinabi niyo po na tatanggalin na po yung 2-week growth rate and doon sa mga metrics po natin sa alert level system. Ibig po sabihin, kahit na po mag-moderate risk yung ADAR natin, pero low risk pa rin po yung hospital utilization rate, still alert level 1 pa rin po yun. Okay. Second po, yung criticism po sa HTAC ni Secretary Concepcion, kasi po parang sinasabi po niya, or equivalent sa sinasabi po ni Secretary Concepcion is, the HTAC is the one delaying the policies ng pagbabakuna sa Philippines. And I think sabi din po ni Secretary Concepcion na dapat daw ibigay daw po sa FDA DEP yung decision na i-administer yung mga bakuna sa mga population natin. Sir, what can you say about dito sa proposal or sa binatig right ni Secretary Concepcion na ang cause of delay daw po ng mga pagbabakuna sa ating bansa ayon sa HTA? Ang cause of delay po nung parang bakit po ang delay daw po yung bakuna sa HTA tapos sa araw po gagawa ng guidelines. Dapat po yung dapat ako ma-aprobahan po ng BP, dahil naman sa aprobahan ng BEP, i-roll out na po ito kagad. Wala na po kailangan ng HTAC approval.
Naayon tayo sa batas. Hindi naman pwedeng whimsical na ang HTAC mag-recommend nang walang batayan. So, HTAC's recommendations are based on data, based on current real-world data, clinical trial data, on effectiveness, safety, and quality of these vaccines. No? So, we have to respect these HTAC because these are the authority, they constitute the council of unassailable expertise. So, we cannot be lightly deviating from what the law clearly stipulates, that if it is if you roll out something, HTAC should give the recommendation, and the law is very clear. HTAC has to recommendation, and WHO pa recommendation. Okay, so unless those two requirements are satisfied, it will be difficult for us to roll it out without possible legal consequences. And we don't like that. That will create more doubts in the minds of our people. So it's better to be prudent, always, to err on the side of caution, and we'll reiterate, we listen to experts, not to pseudo experts.
Great. So anyway, Last question, no? Because the secretary has an appointment pa.
Yeah. Last question na lang.
Thank you, Ren. Thank you.
Last question na lang po, Sec. I know that you are now in your last few days of your term, Secretary. Na-explain na po ito kanina that you have na-prepared na po yung documents for transition. Pero are you worried na hanggang ngayon wala pa rin napipiling Health Secretary si President BBM? Or are you satisfied po sa ibibigay niyo pong mga documents sa susunod na Health Secretary, whoever that may be?
Well, let's leave it to to President-elect Bongbong Marcos to choose the best possible next Secretary of Health. Okay, and we leave it to his judgment. Have a process. We have to respect the process. Hindi mo makuha sa madalian yan. Kasi, syempre, hindi naman madali itong situation natin ngayon. We're still in the state of public health emergency. And then, pangalawa, wala namang problema because the documents are all there. The transition plan is there. All we have to do is to turn over this to them, then for them to create a committee that will evaluate these documents, and then they will do an impact assessment. If some of these policies have proven to be effective, then they probably should be away. If some policies they think are weak, then they need to improve on it. Eh, ganun lang talaga yun, di ba? Kanya-kanyang panahon, but do not scrap the gains of the past administration. Because we did not scrap the gains of the previous administration. My sense is that it's best that they continue so that our people, in the end, ang targeting tama, not the limitation. Just like you and me now, we are benefiting from the outcomes of all of the policy decisions that the President and the IATF have made. So,
Thank you very much. So we would sige, Lay, last.
Sir, I heard that you gave an infinite farewell to DOH employees yesterday. Ang question ko lang po, you served twice as DOH Secretary. How do you want to be remembered po by the Filipino people?
how do I want to be remembered? Well, I guess it will be difficult not to remember me as the pandemic Secretary of Health. So that's about, the question is how did we do? And the Nikkei COVID-19 Recovery Index is a third-party assessment body that has ranked us ahead of many richer, powerful, resource-rich countries. We outrank them. And this fight is a marathon. It's never a sprint. It's not a 100-meter dash. Talagang pinag-aralan, isipan, talagang pinagkaisahan ng ating IATF consistent with our whole of government and whole of society approach in dealing with this pandemic, on the one hand. On the other hand, we continue to be challenged by the implementation of the universal healthcare law. Okay? So that is now cut out for the next administration. We deliver on some of the provisions of universal healthcare law, but it is a long journey to cover. More ground needs to be covered, and so I'm confident that they'll do it. The law is clear, and going back to that question, I never really bothered about how I should be remembered. I think that's the least of my concerns. So I just want to retire. I just want to let people know that I tried to do my best. There was never a time that I did not give out my best. Having served as a Secretary of Health twice, I have used all my past experiences in helping shape the policies that underpin our COVID pandemic response, which in turn were foundational to the implementation of all our PDIPR plus vaccination strategy. So I've poured all God-given talent, knowledge, dedication, commitment. But this is all really nothing compared to the sacrifice of our healthcare workers. So I am, in fact, a little bit embarrassed to even think about how should I be remembered? Let's remember all the sacrifices of our healthcare workers who have been at the front and center in this pandemic response. And I stand by. I have no words to describe our sense of gratitude and appreciation because of the way they cared for our COVID patients, the way they treated and saved lives. All our doctors, Dr. Mike, Dr. Benito, Dr. Leo, all the nurses, all the medics, all the lab techs, all the barangay healthcare workers, everyone, no exceptions. The midwives, everybody had a role in this. Everybody had a humble building block that has contributed to the overall pandemic response. And now we are vindicated by the results, no? Third-party assessment bodies are saying, even Okta in its survey showed 83% approval rating of the government's pandemic response. And in the same survey, 91% of people are willing to, are supporting vaccination program of President Duterte. So, Nikkei Asia has commended us as one of two countries with the most significant improvement in the rankings, based on transmission, low infection, good transmission control, loosened social mobility, and a relatively good vax rollout. So yun lang po, I rest my case. Kasalaman natin, tandaan natin ang lahat ng mga healthcare workers na talagang nagsakripisyo. Forget about me, I'm not important.
Sir, what message did you give the DOH personnel yesterday who really stood by you with the challenges of the past 2 years?
I profusely thank them because their conviction, their belief in me never wavered. So I could have not done what I have done without the DOH as a cohesive agency or organization that is steeped on the values of good governance. That has been my advocacy from the very start. Good governance, very, very important. It's very difficult for an agency beset with too many problems of this pandemic, if it is not united and it doesn't have a clear understanding of where it wants to go and the implementation of good governance mechanism. Good governance is not just about accountability and transparency. Good governance is making sure that you deliver on your mandate. And this is framed by whatever targets that you adopt as an institution and benefiting the public at large. Because otherwise, we are all nothing if at the end it will not benefit our people. So we are just instruments. So I thank the entire DOH family for allowing me, for helping me serve twice. And on both occasions, I would like to believe that we delivered for the benefit of the Philippines. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, congratulations, sir. And thank you very much from all of us. So, last word from the PMA President and former President, Dr. Leo. Then next, Dr. Benito Atienza.
Yes, I do believe that we partner with Secretary Duque. I still remember when I was the Secretary General. For the last 6 years po, we are doing our partnership with the DOH. At sabi ko, the PMA, hindi po namin iniwan si Secretary Duque. We supported him all the way.
Well, maganda naman ang pamamahal ni Dr. Francisco Duque sa ating pandemic health problem. To think about that this is an enemy, the viral enemy is unseen, and hindi pa natin masyadong hindi pa namin napag-aralan ito sa eskwelahan ng virology. So talagang bagong-bago ito. But Dr. Francisco Duque gave us a good administration and management of the COVID-19 problem. Now, as president also of the Clean Air Philippine Movement, I, of course, encourage everyone to help clean our environment. No? Ang ating hangin ay dapat malinis. Karapatan ng bawat Pilipino makalanghap ng malinis na hangin. So, let us make sure that our cars, mga ginagamit nating mga motorsiklo, iba-iba pang mga motor vehicles ay hindi bumubuga ng maitim na usok dahil 80% of air pollution is from the cars, the transportation that we use every day. Let us maintain our cars in tip-top condition para hindi ito bumubuga ng maitim na usok. Dapat walang usok kung malabas sa ating sakyanan. Maraming salamat po sa inyong pagpunta at pagtanong ng mga magagandang questions sa amin.
Sir, this has been a very good exchange of ideas and hearing the views of our Secretary of Health. Congratulations once again, Secretary Duque and the rest of your team. Congratulations also to the head of Oplan Kalinga, the head of the Office of Civil Defense, the vaccination czar, General Calves, and all your panel of experts, the whole of government and whole of the society approach that underpin the executive order that was continued by President Duterte. The IATF was a creation of the previous administration, carried out, continued by the present administration, expanded, and I hope that this can be institutionalized into law, amending that 11332 Republic Act 332, so that in case, and hopefully it does not happen, a new epidemic arises, a new world pandemic happens, we have a permanent body that had learned from the experience of IATF for the last several years, institutionalizing already with the DOH on top of the third pole of the organization. After all, that's in the 11332, it's really DOH and IATF. The head is still the DOH, so it does not really change much. But if there's a permanent body, we don't have to create another, but authorizing the president to make some changes as he deems necessary, but it's already in the law. So that no need of emergency powers when there's a declaration of a public health emergency. The system already is in place. So we don't have to wait for Congress to do this and do that, etc. So I think that's one great idea that we can pursue with the incoming administration. So maraming salamat po sa inyong pagdalaw dito sa Kapihan sa Manila Hotel in cooperation with the Kapisanan ng Social Media Broadcasters ng Pilipinas. Maraming salamat, magandang hapon, sir. Magandang hapon.
Michael.
Hi. How are you?
Good morning.